Hey guys, in this month's top 5, I'm going to be sharing with you my 5 favorite horror books. So, I have discovered in recent years that I love horror-related books, which is strange because I consider myself not to be the biggest fan of horror movies in general, like especially slashers. I have a rough time with slasher movies, you guys. I am very squeamish when it comes to like blood and guts and gore. I can't stand slashers. I'm very particular when it comes to slashers if I do happen to watch them. Like, I really like I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's about as far as it goes for me when it comes to a slasher. So I tend to prefer horror when I think it's the type of horror that has something to say, and sometimes it's a commentary on something. And I think more than anything, I tend to really like historical fiction type horror. But yeah, that's kind of how I am with movies when it comes to the genre. And by the way, probably one of my favorite horror movies in recent years has got to be The Witch, you guys, with Anya Taylor-Joy. My God, if you're someone like me and you're rather squeamish when it comes to horror and you're really particular about it, I definitely recommend The Witch with Anya Taylor-Joy because it is amazing. But yeah, back to this top 5. These are my top 5 favorite books in the horror genre that I just have really enjoyed, and they got to me and I felt like they had something to say. So let's get going. At number 5, I am going to count the Walking Dead series by Robert Kirkman. I think you can classify that as the horror genre. I mean, it's zombies, for crying out loud. So yeah, the Walking Dead comic book series by Robert Kirkman. Obviously, there's a very popular TV show adaptation that came from it. I love the comic book series, you guys. Oh my God. It is a beast of a series. It is a gigantic series, but I've read through it like once and had like a reread of it once, and yeah, it goes by so quickly, and I don't think it ever gets stale or boring. But yeah, this is what you need to know about the Walking Dead series by Robert Kirkman. It's very much like the TV show, obviously. If you've seen the TV show, it's pretty faithful to some degree. Yeah, it follows a sheriff who he wakes up. He was kind of in a coma for a little bit, and when he wakes up out of this coma, all hell has broken loose and there's a zombie apocalypse. But the zombies are never referred to as zombies. They're only ever referred to as walkers, or sometimes other people give them different names depending on kind of the locations. You know, they have different names, but yeah, walkers is what our core group of people tend to call the zombies. So yeah, our sheriff, he wakes up, he's confused. What has happened? He needs to look for his son and his wife, and he does eventually stumble across them, and he stumbles across another group of survivors. And that's pretty much the gist of this entire story. It's about this sheriff, his journey from start to finish with this series, and all of the challenges and obstacles and adversity he has to go through during this apocalypse. And sometimes it ends up being that the walkers are not the biggest threat. Sometimes it's just your fellow human being that is the biggest threat, and that could be the most absolutely terrifying. What other people are willing to do and what they're willing to take advantage of in a situation like this, when there's no government or sense of law and order. Yeah, you got cannibals running around, you got people who have practical dictatorships at various little different communities. It's insane. There's even a group of people who dress up in the bodies of the dead, and they wear their faces as a mask, and they try to blend in with the walkers, trying to act like they're walkers themselves, but they're human beings. It's creepy. So I would definitely consider this part of the horror genre for sure, because there are genuinely some really terrifying, intense moments where you're just kind of clenching up, you know. Yeah, just so well written. I love the artwork by Robert Kirkman. Yeah, it's all done in black and white, which just really makes it effective, I think. So yeah, if you love the TV show, I think you will definitely far prefer the series, the book series. At number 4, The Hacienda by Isabel Cañez. Boy oh boy, I love this book. This is a book of historical fiction that takes place during the Mexican War of Independence, and it follows a young woman who, out of desperation, she gets married to a wealthy man to protect herself and her mother. She marries this man, and on the surface, it seems all well and good. But once she gets to this man's ancestral home and whatnot, the hacienda, all hell breaks loose, obviously, and we find out that her new husband previously was married to another woman. What happened to his previous wife? And yeah, why does this man's sister hate our main protagonist so much? What's going on there? And not only this, but the house itself is really creepy and weird, and our main protagonist, she feels like this hacienda is haunted, and there's ghosts and spirits, and they're all volatile. So she calls in the help, you guys, of a really hot priest. And she wants this hot priest to come in and exorcise the hacienda. And I loved this book. It was just so thrilling and intense from start to finish, and it is super gory and graphic in places. You'll notice a thing here that I can't watch gore and violence on like movies and television, but I sure as hell can read it in a book, because I don't have to visualize it if I don't want to visualize it, you know? But yeah, it's super graphic and gory and bloody and gruesome, just some of the twists and turns that it takes. I definitely recommend this, not only as a horror book in the genre, but if you just love really good historical fiction in general, this is a must. At number 3, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Of course, this book was going to make the list. Oh god, I can gush and gush and gush about this book for a long time if you let me. Yeah, guys. So this book takes place kind of, when does it take place? I think it takes place kind of about mid 1900s. Sometimes when you're reading this book, it almost feels like it's earlier than the mid 1900s for whatever reason, but it's like the mid 1900s, and it follows a young woman who travels down to Mexico because she gets this message from her cousin. Her cousin has recently married into a very wealthy white family, and her cousin is like, hey, I need help, things are not all as they seem here, come help me. So our main protagonist, she goes down to Mexico to help her cousin, and oh boy, does she discover some wild and crazy things, which I, obviously, in this video, I can't spoil. All you need to know about this book is that we're following this young woman who enters into the lives of this very wealthy, privileged family, and you definitely get this sense of deep unease, and it does. The novel spends a very, very long time, what is this unease exactly? And when you get the reveal what the unease is, it is shocking. And pretty insane, kind of like, what the hell am I reading? Is this legit? Is this real? And this is definitely a book that explores privilege and elitism, and what that does to people, and what people are willing to sacrifice to kind of gain those things. And it's pretty interesting. At number 2, of course, Dracula by Bram Stoker had to make this list. Dracula is a classic for a reason, you guys. I have probably read Dracula a good maybe 5 times or so throughout the entirety of my life. I just thoroughly enjoy it every single time. And when it comes to classics, I feel like Dracula is one of the easier classics to consume and understand, because there's classics out there that I don't blame people for disliking, because there's a lot of classics that sometimes can feel meandering and boring, and then there's all sorts of like literary nuances like metaphors and similes and imagery and stuff that sometimes can just kind of completely go over a casual reader's head. But Dracula, I feel like Dracula, even though it has a lot of thematic sort of things and literary elements that it uses to its advantage, you know, even though it has a lot of that sort of stuff, I feel like it's still very easy to consume and understand, that you're never like, what the hell is going on? I'm confused. And yeah, Dracula, of course. Do I have to give a plot synopsis of Dracula? I mean, there's literally like a million adaptations of this book out there, some good, some bad, you know. But yeah, at the start of this book, we follow a guy named Jonathan Harker. He's heading over to Transylvania to deal with some business. Thing is, this is where he meets the infamous Dracula, much to his chagrin, and it doesn't go well, of course. And eventually the novel kind of goes over to England, where Dracula is coming on over to England, causing some mischief and mayhem and killing all sorts of people. And our group of heroes have to, you know, fight back and defeat this great evil, obviously. It's pretty standard. You know, when it comes to classics, I think Dracula is pretty basic and standard. That's why I think it's really just easy to consume and enjoy. And I just love this book so much. It's a classic for a reason. There's a reason why it has so many adaptations. And at number 1, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. You guys. Whew. I am a sucker when it comes to all things Edgar Allan Poe retellings. I am a straight up Edgar Allan Poe fangirl, okay? And I've read many Edgar Allan Poe retellings over the years. And to be quite honest, a lot of them aren't that great. They're pretty bad. And so going into T. Kingfisher's What Moves the Dead, I was pretty hesitant. I was pretty scared. I didn't know what to expect. I was really honestly preparing myself for vast, huge disappointment. So lo and behold, I finished this book, which is not very long, you guys. It is very, very tiny. I finished this book and I was just so completely, thoroughly impressed. This is how you do an Edgar Allan Poe retelling. For some reason, when people do Edgar Allan Poe retellings, it's like they feel the need to like just branch out and go crazy and do something really kind of wild and crazy and like overly creative. And it's like, well, where is the actual retelling, you know? And this book, for the most part, it keeps to the story, oddly enough. It really keeps strongly to the story, but it still does interesting, unique things with the characters that it's very believable, and you believe them in this world, and you feel like they are part of the original story and whatnot. But yeah, it follows our main protagonist, Alex Easton, who is actually non-binary in this book, because, you know, in the original story, you know what, in the original story, we've always been led to believe our narrator is a guy, but when you think about it, I don't think it's ever actually mentioned it's a guy. Does it ever actually mention it's a guy? I'm not quite sure. I need to go back and actually reread Fall of the House of Usher. Have I mentioned that? I don't even know if I've mentioned that. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. I kind of just went off into a tangent talking about Edgar Allan Poe retellings. I didn't even actually tell you which retelling this was. The Fall of the House of Usher, you guys, which is like my all-time favorite Poe short story. So yeah, our main character, Alex Easton, arriving at Usher Manor to be with friends Roderick and Madeline Usher, and they are falling apart. There's something wrong with them, and the house, Usher Manor, is falling apart. And there's like some weird rabbits on the estate. These rabbits are like really bizarre and crazy, and they're doing weird, irrational things that rabbits normally do not do. So there's a lot of really fascinating, interesting things going on in this book. And for the love of God, you guys, seriously, if you're a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan like me, I think you thoroughly, absolutely enjoy this book. And yeah, T. Kingfisher has spun this off into another book, and I'm hoping that a third book is on the horizon. I love the originality and creativity of this, all while still being an Edgar Allan Poe retelling that's very recognizable as an Edgar Allan Poe retelling. So you guys, that is it for my top 5 favorite horror-themed books. In the comments below, any of these books that you guys like and enjoy, or are there some others that you would have on your list? Just let me know, because there's a pretty good chance I might want to go check it out. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.